afternoon, everybody. What is going on, everybody? Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live on a whirlwind kind of day for me. I got to tell you, my day started off real crappy, then got exceedingly better, then got exceedingly worse. Then got way worse. Way worse. Because, as I'm watching right now, the dipshit head of the Federal Reserve decided to open his mouth. And now I've lost an unbelievable amount of money. Because Jerome Powell decided to keep interest rates exactly where they stand. That's the breaking news at this hour. So I'd like to thank you, Jerome Powell. May can't come fast enough for you to be replaced with someone else. With the Dow being down about 1.5 right now, following the Federal Reserve deciding not to cut interest rates. So if you're thinking about buying a house anytime soon, maybe hang out for a little bit. That's just the life in which we live. Just the life in which we live. But there was good news today. There was some good news today. Mark Wayne Mullen came firing out of the gate with his confirmation hearing. I do like the fact that he's the kind of guy who's not going to take any crap from anybody. It was also kind of weird that during his speech, there was a guy sitting behind him who he threatened to beat up in the Senate. That was pretty interesting. We're going to show you guys some of the highlights, some of the lowlights of his confirmation hearing today. J.D. Vance was speaking in Michigan, and, he made what could be described as a bit of an interesting point that I think needs to be discussed. And you've heard me say it on this show several times before. And if you're watching anywhere other than the LFA channel, you see the headline and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Also, at the end of the show, we're going to talk about liberal smugness and liberal arrogance and just how important it is to understand that the people who often speak as if they are the most intelligent often are the dumbest. As Jillian Michaels sat down at Jubilee, which I got to tell you, I think the Jubilee thing is one of the dumber shows, just in my personal opinion. If you guys haven't seen that, it's where one person, normally somebody very famous, decides to debate 20 people who think they're slick, who think they know what they're talking about, and usually don't. But before we get started today, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling today. Real quick, I do want to make sure that I get this in. Something that doesn't get talked about enough in this country is unions. And what exactly is done with the union dues that you pay to the union. Now, look, for a long time, it's been no secret that unions have been unbelievably democratic. They've always donated to Democrats, but we're beginning to see for the first time that the union worker is becoming far more Republican, far more MAGA, far more America First. Whatever it is you may want to call it, yet their union dues continue to go to Democrats. Many of the heads of the unions will donate to Democrats, will support Democrats, even though the people paying into these funds are often completely Republican. We saw unions donate over $2 million to people like Letitia James. And since 2020, unions have contributed more than $700,000 to people like Adam Schiff, $1 million to Chuck Schumer, $500,000 to Elizabeth Warren, not to mention the almost $1 million given just last year to Zoran Mamdani. It's actually incredibly wild. Well, Americans for Limited Government have decided to put together a wild new expose called In Their Words, Union Bosses' Betrayal of MAGA, and it highlights the growing disconnect between union leadership and the workers they claim to represent. Millions of union workers voted for President Trump in 2020, but according to recent campaign filings, union leadership continues using union dues to bankroll some of Trump's loudest political opponents in Washington, while hammering the president in the courts and in the court of public opinion. I'm going to tag the report in the bottom in the comments so you guys can check this out yourself. A lot of it is what you can do if you are a union worker to stop your money from going to rabid Democrats. So you guys are going to want to check that out today. That is Americans for Limited Government. They do absolutely tremendous work, so check that out. That's Americans for Limited Government. Make sure you guys go and give them a follow. So let's dive right on in, because some of you see the headline. And I'm sure you're interested in what I may be talking about. Now, I have said flippantly, some might say selfishly, that I would very much prefer a Vance Zeldin ticket in 2028 over, say, Vance Rubio or Vance. Everyone on this show knows that I am Team Vance in 2028. It is all about who he picks next. Well, today, while speaking at a factory in Michigan, J.D. Vance said something. He said something that, if you're from New York or if you've watched this show for any extended period of time, you may have heard before. You may have heard this sentence before, and I got to tell you, it piqued my brain a little bit.
Minded Democrats and independents, Lee is the reason why we have a Republican Speaker of the House right now. Nobody knows that or appreciates that, because a couple of years ago, Lee Zeldin was the New York gubernatorial candidate at a time where, of course, it's very hard for a Republican to win the New York governor's race, but he so overperformed and did such a good job in that race that he drug a number of New York congressmen across the finish line. They're in Congress today enacting good policy because Lee Zeldin ran a hell of a race. So thank you, Lee, for everything that you do.
I'm going to put on my thinking cap here for a second. Why the hell would the EPA administrator be at a factory in Michigan? One can dream. However, that sounds an awful lot like, word for word, what I say on this show all the time. So just know that if anybody is curious or anybody has any ideas or anybody has any plans, just know that Kevin Smith is available. Just wanted to make sure I got that one out there. Because that really set me off this morning. That's when the day started getting a little bit better. Started off pretty crappy, came back, kind of sucked. It is what it is. But, what are you going to do? And then Jerome Powell started talking, and now I'm broke. So, thanks, Jerome. Thank you, JD. Thank you, Jerome. One is incredibly sarcastic, because I really dislike everything about this guy. But that wasn't all. JD Vance was out touting in Michigan. He was talking about the amount of money and the economic boom that has gone on during the Trump administration. Now, I've long said that this administration has put a lot of weight into the One Big Beautiful Bill and into the tax cuts that have gone on. Now, I could not have anticipated that we would start a war for what seems like no reason whatsoever. But we did that. I don't know why. We'll see how it turns out. If this is a month or two kind of thing, like the president says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I have absolutely no idea how that could possibly happen. But, I like ambitiousness. I do. So JD was out touting what the Big Beautiful Bill did for the average American. Here with Vice President Vance.
By about $1,400. Now, that's a good thing. That $1,400 is money in your pocket. But what it also means is that a lot of our families are still struggling because of that terrible hole that Joe Biden and the Democrats put us in. And for so many of us, the question in November is going to be very simply, do we support the people who made us hundreds and hundreds of dollars richer, or do we support the people who made us hundreds and hundreds of dollars poorer? Let's support the people who made us richer, more prosperous, and more secure, and that's the congressional leadership in Washington, D.C. Because here's the thing, you know, I landed, I don't even remember which airport we landed in, but it was about a 20-minute drive from there to here, and I was looking around and I was thinking to myself, again, this is why, even though I'm an Ohio State guy, I love this state, it reminded me so much of my hometown. You've got some of these beautiful old homes that I saw, places that are harken back to an era of American greatness when we built these beautiful buildings, and some of them looked amazing, and some of them, let's be honest, looked like they were struggling. I drove through some areas that were clearly struggling. I realized America sold the highest a foreign competitor. We were going to sell out the American dream of the people right in this room so that somebody could make a quick buck, or so that some foreign competitor or some foreign country could get rich off of the infrastructure that the United States of America had built over 250 proud years. And what I realized driving through this area is that the American Renaissance, ladies and gentlemen, $1,200 richer in 14 months is a lot, but there is so much more that we can do together. There is so much more to be built, so much more to be reclaimed, so much more to be made anew in the United States of America. But it's not going to happen by going back to the failed policies of Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. It's going to be by doubling down on the policies of Donald J. Trump and the people who love this country.
I mean, look, he's very good, and I wish they would stick to that message instead of, you know, what foreign country we can blow up or overthrow. Now we're talking about Cuba. I don't know. You know, we'll see. We'll see if it's a winning strategy in the midterms. We will see. I don't really know. Now, look, I could be wrong. I'm not really sure. I don't think that I am. I think that enough people are kind of pissed off at this whole thing that it could be devastating in November. But, you know, I haven't been wrong in a while. So I guess maybe I'm due. I don't know. Recent polling has come out that suggests that if we were to stick to this America First message that JD was just talking about, where we stop with the jobs overseas and we stop building out other countries with the infrastructure that was created here in America, we might be in better shape. I don't know. As far as stock in 2028 goes, recent polling suggests that JD is the clear frontrunner moving into 2028 with Marco Rubio coming up the back end. But Rubio stock is quickly rising. We'll see if that has as much effect as I think it will. Here's CNN.
This morning, it is never too early to talk about 2028, the approaching presidential election. It is getting closer and closer and closer. And one person who may very well be rising, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, front and center with the war in Iran, but also rising. Like, look at these smiles. Look at this. Look at the way they're looking at each other there. All right, with us now, CNN Chief Data Analyst Harry.
I'm looking at you with that same
smile. It's the same way that they look at each other here. Look, when you talk about the prediction markets, how has, what's happened to Marco Rubio's stock over the last few weeks?
Marco Rubio is hot, 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 like a summer heat wave. I mean, just take a look here. Over the last 6 months, Chance Rubio's the 2028 GOP presidential nominee. He was just at 7% 6 months ago. Hello, up like a rocket, 27% chance now. What is that? That's quadrupling his chances in 4 months' time. Marco Rubio's chances, according to the Kalshi prediction markets, way, way up.
Okay, why?
Why? Why are his chances way, way up? Well, one of the reasons why his chances are way, way up is because the MAGA base really likes the U.S. military action in Iran. Take a look here. Okay, MAGA GOP on the U.S. military action in Iran. Look at this. Nearly 9 in 10, 89% approve of the U.S. military action in Iran. That is the MAGA GOP base. Just 9% disapprove of it.
Now, I'm going to leave these numbers up here real quick while I talk over it, because I want to be clear about something. Yes, 90% do support it. 90% support it. 10% disapprove. We'll use round numbers for the sake of it. Guys, I got news for you, okay? That is an aggressive landslide election loss. If you pull out 90% of your base and 10%, and it doesn't really matter what the issue is. If 10% of your base is pissed off, you're going to lose 50 seats. That's not an opinion. That is not, I'm really anti-war and I'm anti-interventionist. Therefore, I have a take. No, if 9 in 10 people who voted for you last time come out and vote this time, there's going to be a drubbing in the House and perhaps the Senate is in jeopardy as well. There's no getting around it there. No getting around it. That's just math. A lot of people think that elections come down to policies and personalities and timing. No, that's not what elections are about. Elections are about addition and subtraction. Can you get more of your people off the couch than the other person? That's all it's about. That's all it's about. And if 10% of your base is aggressively annoyed, you're going to lose. That's not me turning the back on the president. That's not being me being a traitor. That's me having worked on elections for the last decade and understanding how they work. We'll see. But I think if you're all being honest, and chat, I'll pull it up there. I'll pull it up. A lot of people are pissed off about this war. A lot of people are mad. A lot of people are very mad. Like feel betrayed to the point of never wanting to come back mad. B-Hops, it's definitely geek stuff. You're assuming 10% are single issue voters. Yeah. War is a single issue voter type thing. It's not about, all right, things are a little more expensive. It's not a big, there are several topics out there, many topics out there that provide single issue voters. And a protracted, look, Arrow Pink, I'm with you. I'm confident. I'm confident in what the president is doing. I hope it remains this 1 to 2 month thing, 3 months, whatever. But and you know what it is? It's not about people voting Democrat. It's about them staying home. That's the thing people need to understand. And I don't want, then you weren't alive in 79. I'm sorry. If we're fighting wars that started in 1979, I don't remember that being on the campaign platform. I just don't. I don't remember hearing that. I don't remember hearing someone say, let's finish something that happened before there were color TVs. I watched all the speeches. I didn't hear that. Eagle, 90% favor, 10% don't. I'm not a mathematician, but I believe that's more than 10. No, that's of the Trump base. How many votes did Trump win by last time? A couple of million? Does he win if he wins? Does he win if he gets 70 million? Because this is what I try to instill in people. And I can feel the tension in the chat. I can feel it. Elections are not about the 40% that hate you. And they're not about the 40% that like you. It's about that middle 20%. That's what elections come down to. You know, they say it in baseball all the time. You know, you're going to win 60 games. You're going to lose 60 games. It's what you do in the other 42 games that really matter in baseball. 45% of the electorate is going to like you. 45% is going to hate you. Can you win that 10%? That's what it comes down to. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't think I am. I just don't think that I am. I guess we'll see. Some brighter spots happening today were was the Senate testimony of Mark Wayne Mullen, who I'm a huge fan of, by the way. I'm a huge fan of his, by the way. I think he's a real fighter for the America First movement. He's just a no BS kind of guy. Special operator, MMA fighter, doesn't really take any crap from anybody. And we saw that in the testimony today when he went after Rand Paul for being a bit disingenuous. We're going to show you guys that in 1 second. Before we do that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So, Mark Wayne Mullen, the new head of DHS, testified, I think he's testifying today. Is it still going on? We'll bring you guys that. We'll bring you that live if anybody interesting begins to question him, as the Senate has a bunch of hearings today. As we continue to wait on the SAVE Act stuff, I don't think we're going to get anywhere on that either. Maybe I'm blackpilling. Maybe I am, but such is life. But you know what? There were some highlights today from Mark Wayne Mullen. Here he was calling out Rand Paul.
Chairman made, calling me a liar. Sir, I think.
Just to be clear, the guy behind him who looks like he's asleep, the guy, I don't know what the actor's name is. He's the bald guy from Hot Tub Time Machine. Mark Wayne Mullen threatened to beat that guy up, but they stand together in him being the DHS head because it's good for America.
Everybody in this room knows that I'm very blunt and direct to the point, and if I have something to say, I'll say it directly to your face. If you recall, back in my House days, we actually did have this conversation because of the remarks that I made. You were in a room. I simply addressed that I said I could understand because of the behavior you were having, that I could understand why the neighbor did what he did. As far as my terms as a snake in the grass, sir, I work around this room to try to fix problems. I've worked with many people in this room. Seems like you fight Republicans more than you work with us. I did address those remarks. I did explain your gimmicks by the amendment you put forth. And as far as me saying that I invoke violence, I don't. I don't think anybody should be hit by surprise. I don't like that. But if I do have something to say, everybody in this room knows I'll come straight to you. I'll say it publicly and I'll say it privately, but I'll never say it behind your back. So for you to say, I'm a liar, sir, that's not accurate. And I got proof to say that because you have spent millions of dollars in my campaigns against me because we just don't get along. However, sir, that doesn't keep me at all from doing my job. I can have different opinions with everybody in this room, but as Secretary of Homeland, I'll be protecting everybody, including Kentucky, as much as I will my own backyard in Oklahoma. It's bigger than the partisan bickering that we have. It's bigger than the political differences we have. The truth is, I have a job to do, and I don't like to fail at anything at all. So I can set it aside if you're willing to set it aside. Let me earn your respect. Let me earn.
Seems like a completely logical response to Rand Paul, and he's right. Rand Paul tends to work against Republicans more than he works with Republicans, which is incredibly annoying when he does that. Seems like every time we have to worry about whether or not we're going to have his vote. Sometimes we on the Republican side, we really do our best to beat up on each other, and I don't think we should. I don't think we should be doing that. What the hell is going on right now? House hearing on U.S. action against Venezuela. Oh, we're gonna get to that. Oh yeah, we are gonna get to that for sure. In just a second, because it looks like there's a public Jasmine Crockett sighting. Oh yeah, we're gonna play that once we finish up with Mark Wayne Mullins. It was a great moment today. A great moment today where Mark Wayne Mullins shared a story about President Trump and what President Trump did for his son, who I guess has like a traumatic brain injury or something. I'm not really totally sure what happened to his son, but I wanted to highlight this because it's one of those moments with President Trump that the media doesn't show you, that you'll never find out about. Like just that heartfelt sort of thing that, yeah, you know what? I'll just let him tell the story. Here it is.
To hear a different side of President Trump as well.
Yeah.
But I think also that'll serve you well as his Secretary of Homeland Security. But just tell that story.
Ron, I'm going to try getting through it without crying then. It's not about President Trump, it's about my son. So my son was a really world-class athlete, and January 17th of 2020, which mind you was an election year, he had a really serious brain injury. Woke up 26 hours later and he's a different kid. We almost lost him. For 26 hours, he had an extremely low pulse. There was a time they thought that they lost his pulse altogether. And when he woke up, he was just different. I mean, here he had a world-class athlete that wrestled all over the world since he was 12 years old, and he couldn't touch his nose. He couldn't walk without shuffling his feet. He had short-term memory loss. He couldn't control his muscles. Couldn't add 5 plus 3. He was in high school at that time. Had to learn how to read, walk, everything. And the president found out about it, and he gave me a call immediately. And one thing that the president joked about was, like, he said, let me get this straight. He doesn't know who you and Christy are, but he knew who I was, because the only question you got right is who the president was. And he said, Trump, with this cocky grin on his face. And but the president didn't understand the severity of it, but he heard it in my voice, and immediately he went to work. I told him we had to get to Bakersfield, California, to the Center for Neural Skills, which is one of the best neural rehabilitation places in the world. And the president offered to send his plane, his personal plane. This is the president of the United States. And I said, sir, we can't fly. We got to drive. We get there, and he called almost every day for 2 weeks checking on Jim. And then he says, I'm going to come see him. And now this is the middle of the election. This is Bakersfield, California. Really not an area he's got to go campaign. And he took the time to come up there and see Jim. And the senator told us that the short-term memory loss something would trigger it. Some big event would eventually trigger where he would start retaining stuff. Until then, he was still having issues. And the president arrived, and of course there was cameras and everybody around, and of course none of the media ever talked about it, which was funny because the president called him on stage and talked to him. And then we went to the back, and the president didn't talk to me. He didn't know I was in, I mean, he didn't care if I was in the room. Here's a guy that's been over, and his tie is about as long as my son because my son, it stunted his growth, and so he's 5'3" the rest of his life. And his team came to him twice and said, "Sir, we got to go, we got to go." On the third time they came over to him, he looked at him and he says, "Hey, I guarantee you that plane won't leave without me." And for the next 15 minutes, he did nothing but love on my son. That one incident jogged his memory. And from then on, he started retaining things. And Jim's attitude went from this, we're going to get through it, to this, I'm going to get through it. And every week, if not most days, the president would call and ask how he could help. Ask how's his buddy doing? How's Jim doing? He didn't do it for publicity. He didn't do it for any show. He was running in one of the toughest elections he had been in, and the guy was still that concerned about my son. When we got released for a little bit, we had to go back. When we got released a little bit, the president said, "Come to Mar-a-Lago and see me." We go down there, and it's amazing. And when we're leaving, dang it, I hate getting emotional. See, if I talk about my kids, I get emotional. Other than that, you can't make me cry. But my kids can make me emotional.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah. So anyways, he grabbed my son and he said, "Do you know why I love your dad? Do you know why I love your dad?" Chrissy tells the story better than I do. And he goes, "No, sir." He goes, "Because he loves you. Because of you. Because of you." Man, he didn't do it for any other reason. I mean, here's the president of the United States, and he did it just because he cared. And so when you want to say why he's a friend, yeah, we were acquaintances before that. We've been friends ever since.
The American people need to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Blumenthal.
Then naturally, Mark Wayne Mullen was questioned by Senator Blumenthal, one of the most disingenuous people on planet Earth, badgered and berated over and over and over again. Mark Wayne Mullen, who's actually been to war, Senator Dick Blumenthal, Draft Dodger Dick, as he's well known. He was then berated by that. Democrats went out of their way to ask probably some of the stupidest questions imaginable. Here was Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire.
So, Senator Mullen, I'm going to start with a question I have asked every one of the president's nominees. If directed by the president to take an action that would break the law, would you follow the law or follow the president's direction?
Senator, thank you for the questions and thank you for the concerns. First of all, I've enjoyed working with you on several different issues. We've had very blunt conversations. To answer your question, the president would never ask me to do that.
Well, certainly everyday Americans who have served on juries would disagree with you about that. And the example he has set calls into question that answer. Let's move, sir. Yeah. I have limited time, as you well know.
Putting on a show, that way, she can win a state with 9 people in it. Ridiculous that they would go after. Look, I don't know Mark Wayne Mullen. He seems like a pretty intense guy. Seems pretty intense. One member of the Senate tried to get him to. I don't even know what you'd even call it. I guess it would be. Violate classified information about a trip that he went on as a member of Congress to try to rescue Americans in Afghanistan. Something that, I don't know. Who is this? Senator Peters. I think he's from Michigan. I probably wouldn't know anything about. Here was the Democrats trying to get him to reveal classified information on C-SPAN. It's probably not going to go over very well.
So my question for you, sir, is before your time in Congress, other than on vacations with your family, have you ever traveled to a foreign country?
No.
You've never traveled to a foreign country?
Outside of vacation or mission work? No.
Okay. Have you, your FBI report does show some travel. I think it was to Georgia and Azerbaijan. You marked that that was not for tourists.
Are you referring to August of 2021 when we went to go get the Americans out of Afghanistan?
I'm just
That's
saying.
what that travel was for, which
Okay.
we did
So
clarify that.
you have traveled. So you've traveled to Azerbaijan and Georgia. That was in your FBI report, although you just said you've never traveled.
Sir, I thought you were referring to a different time, but in 2021, it was well documented. In fact,
Okay.
it was all over the news, and I actually did say that, and we put that down on the report. But that was us, which was all over the news, trying to go with a extremely experienced team.
I've got other questions, thank
Yeah.
you. But so you have traveled overseas, despite your previous comment. Were you ever, ever an employee, volunteer, or otherwise involved with the Department of Defense, the State Department, or other U.S. agency or contractor for any of those departments?
No, and Senator, I think there's a misunderstanding here that I could clear up if you want me to clear up for you.
Please.
Okay, so which this is official trip, and it is classified. But in 2015, I was asked to train with a very small contingency and go to a certain area, which was scheduled for 2016. During that time, I was asked to go through, had to meet certain training qualifications, had to go through SEER training. The training and stuff was kind of fun. The SEER training was absolutely awful. And I have spoken general about my experiences, but I've never spoke specifically on details, on dates, or on the mission. And that was official, and there was nothing in the report to the committee. Actually, it said you do not have to claim any official trips. And like I said, that was an official trip that is classified.
This is an official trip while you were a member of Congress.
Yes. 2015, 2016, I was a member of Congress.
And
Some of it may be public, but it would be very small. Most of it, because of my recollection, which we're going back 10 years.
That went on for about 5 minutes, where he wouldn't understand why he wouldn't reveal classified information live on television. I'm really happy that he's, what is this? Somebody in the comments. Jack Tuggle. I know Senator Mullins, this is just a random Facebook comment. I know Senator Mullins personally. I've known him for over 25 years through my business in Oklahoma. We've done work together through his plumbing company and my pest control company. And Senator Mullins is a really good man with a great family. He doesn't have an anger issue, but Mark Wayne is very passionate about things. And he cares about faith, family, community. He will do a great job as Homeland Security. Literally, that's just a random Facebook comment that just came in. Thank you, Jack, for that. It actually gets me to the next clip where Senator Moreno just continues to praise him for being just what seems like a pretty straight up, straightforward guy.
It's not often that I get to ask questions for somebody who I've known for a long time. Meaning in politics, 2.5 years is a long time. I've gotten to know you as a friend, as a colleague. I've seen you interact as a dad. I've seen you interact as a husband. And I just want the American people to know you're a good man.
Thank you.
That doesn't always go through all the political shenanigans. And maybe you're not going to replace Shakespeare as the next greatest orator on earth. You talk from the heart. And that's okay. You are who you are. You don't, and I think that's what you don't apologize for, is just being yourself. And sometimes we're imperfect. We don't do the 20-person focus group every time you say a word. And I think that's what people like about you, Mark Wayne. So I appreciate you being here. I honestly just have one question for you. Do you pledge to support and defend the United States of America nearly as much as you would protect and defend your family?
Without doubt, sir, yes.
So I'm going to ruin everything for the audience. You will be confirmed. You will have the job. And you're going to make this country safer and better. And for that, I thank you and thank your family for supporting you.
So I'm excited to see what Mark Wayne Mullins is able to do at DHS. It looks like he's going to be confirmed. Fetterman's on board, so we're able to lose 4 votes. It looks like Rand Paul's not going to vote for him. Hopefully the rest of the Republican conference does. He can be confirmed and then jump into that role. In just a second, we're going to check out what's happening over in D.C. because Brandon Gill is questioning witnesses, and I like to show you guys Brandon doing his thing because Brandon's been trained by the best, by the absolute best. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody, if you're not familiar with, then let me introduce to you Armor Colostrum. Now, I didn't know what colostrum was up until a few years ago. I'd never even really heard of it. And then my wife turned me on to Armor Colostrum. And what colostrum does is it helps regrow your hair. Not gonna lie, that's the reason that I started looking into it. But then I started noticing some other things that I could benefit from. I used to get acid reflux very badly. I used to bloat very badly. It felt like I was 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was until I made Armor Colostrum a part of my everyday schedule. And now things have changed so very much. Let me introduce to you what Armor Colostrum actually does and what it looks like. In a study measuring immune cell response to toxin, Armor Colostrum performed 32% stronger and faster than other colostrum companies. 400 plus bionutrients activated in your life, in your body to help regrow hair, strengthen your gut health, regrow your nails, toenails, and fingernails healthy, get rid of fungus, stop bloating, and more. And now you can get yours right now for up to $18 off each and every purchase at tryarmra.com. Promo code LFATV. Click the apply button once you've entered the code and watch your discount fall off. That is tryarmra.com/LFATV. Order now.
Guys, head on over to tryarmra.com and use promo code LFATV. That's tryarmra.com and use code LFATV. I actually don't know if we'll have enough time to go to Congress because there are 2 big ones I wanted to talk to. One about Gavin Newsom, who his fake Twitter account, that Gavin Newsom press office account, decided to go after Nick Shirley. Yesterday, we showed you the amount of fraud going on in the state of California, particularly with young people, with child care and with hospice care and with homeless care. Basically, all of California is a fraud. It's all make-believe, like Ben Stiller's career or, Gavin Newsom's winery or his hairline or the fact that his wife definitely slept with Harvey Weinstein. Things that we don't want to bring up. But they got into a little bit of a back and forth and a bit of a tiff after the video that I showed you yesterday. Obviously, the Nick Shirley video is about 40 minutes long, and every one of you should go watch it so you get the full context of it. I'd love to play the whole damn thing here. Go support Nick Shirley and the rest of the independent journalists out there who are doing great work. But Gavin Newsom's press office then basically insinuated that Nick Shirley was a pedophile, saying, "Hi, I'm Nick Shirley. Can I see your children?" Which is, of course, not what happened whatsoever. But the people running the Gavin Newsom press office account are some of the most vile human beings on planet Earth. So bad that even John Fetterman decided to go after Gavin Newsom and his fake Twitter account. I tell you what, Fetterman's days in the Democratic Party are absolutely numbered. He's going to be one of us anytime soon. You watch. Here's old Johnny Boy Fetterman.
Why can't you celebrate any journalist or any activist doing that? And what Governor Newsom put out a disgusting video implying that he's a pedophile or he's that. Like, why? That's like kind of a smear. You want to disagree but to imply that someone in one of the most gross kinds of terms like that. It's like, hey, shouldn't we agree? Eliminate all the waste. If it exists under my purview, let's eliminate it. Let's call that what it is. I'm not going to call someone or imply that you're a pedophile or you're going after kids in the gross ways.
But what's crazy to me and so many other people that have seen these videos is to then see reactions from leaders in the Democratic Party saying, we don't have a problem, this is racist, this is whatever,
Yeah.
and denouncing the reports of this.
Exactly.
But when you see this fraud, it angers everyone. You're spending money as a taxpayer, and then you're giving the money away to fraudsters.
It should. Yeah, it should. You should be angry. And, like fraud can happen on both sides, but when it's identified, I don't care if it's in a Democratic state, like we should all just acknowledge maybe there is a problem here. This is part of the thing. If you tell voters that you're wrong or, hey, it's no problem, there's nothing here, then you lose. And that you want to turn that into, if you want to turn that into like the border, what Democrats is in 2023, we do that at our own peril.
It's pretty wild that I did not have on my bingo card for 2026 that John Fetterman would have more balls to implement the Republican agenda than many sitting in Republican seats. Fraud is a problem. Wherever it's happening, whoever is doing it, call it out when it happens. Don't label some 23-year-old kid who decided to look into your ridiculous fraud a pedophile, Gavin Newsom. The video we showed you yesterday showed two toddlers left completely unalone in an apartment that was labeled as a daycare being paid by the state of California, and no one's allowed to look into this? If not be smeared by one of Gavin Newsom's fake social media accounts? When I say fake, it's a real account, but it's like, it's supposed to mock like the Trump War Room accounts. Gavin Newsom has even come out and condemned that account on numerous occasions for not falling in line with what he's currently saying in the moment. But I would have never thought, ever, that John Fetterman would have been the voice of reason in the Democratic Party. I didn't have that on my bingo card, and I don't think a lot of you did either. Wild. Absolutely wild. When I say John Fetterman's got more balls than the majority of the Republican conference, he may still have a little bit of an issue talking, but at least he's willing to call out the things when and where he sees it. Unlike the Fred Gwynn impersonator, the senator from South Dakota, John Thune, who apparently can't get his own votes in line, can't call up Cocaine Mitch, and can't call up Eskimo Lisa, and can't call up stuttering Susan Collins, and go, Susan Collins voted for it, so I apologize for making fun of you, but your voice bothers me. Can't get the votes in line, doesn't have the stones to get rid of the filibuster, so I guess we're just supposed to sit here and not pass the SAVE Act, according to the judge from My Cousin Vinny.
I want to quickly play something from the president. This is him being asked about the passage of this on Wednesday, and then him being asked about it again on Monday. Here's what the president said.
Is Senator Thune listening to you when you say you want to pass the Save America Act? He says there aren't the votes to do it right now. What's your response?
Well, he's got to be a leader. If he's a leader, he's got to get him. I hope John Thune can get it across the line. He's trying. I think it'll be a very, very bad thing for our country if they don't.
So you hear in the first one, he says he's got to get him and that you have to be a leader. And in the second one, he says he hopes that it will happen. Is the president, do you think he's coming around to a point where he thinks that this may not actually pass the Senate?
Well, I think what obviously he wants to see it pass, and we all do, Martha. The question is, are the votes there?
It's your job to get the votes. That's your job. Our job is to go, oh, the votes aren't there. Let me go get the votes. Oh, we need votes. Let's go do this. What do you want in your state? Do you want a post office named after you? Or do you need money for, a dam or something? What is the point of being the leader in the Senate if you cannot lead the Senate? Now, with that being said, I've been incredibly critical of Mike Johnson, despite the fact that he is still able to pass legislation with an only 2-vote majority, and Thomas Massie, who votes against everything. John Thune, proportionally, has an even broader margin and still still cannot get anything across the finish line. Now, the question is, does he want to? To my mind, I would say it seems like he doesn't want to. He wants to la-di-da around. That way, he can go into the minority at the end of 2026, lose the Senate. That way, he can bitch and moan and fundraise more instead of actually promoting the president's agenda. That's what I would say. But hell, what do I know? I'm just one of those extremists that nobody listens to. That's a real bitch. In just a second, we're going to talk about a show on the internet that I like because it is like cultural porn commentary. But I think it really shows everything that's wrong with social media culture. It's a show called Jubilee. Before we get to that, guys, do me a favor and head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad. For all things LFATV related, check out the LFATV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFATV. That is the best way to keep the lights on over here. Check out Jeremy's shop. We really do appreciate all of the support. So, there's a show out there called Jubilee. What happens on the show is they usually take one person, either from the right side of it's right or left, or topic related, issue related, whatever it may be, and then they take 20 people who stand on the other side of the topic, rapid fire. Many of you have seen the clips. Ben Shapiro has done it, Piers Morgan, Charlie Kirk, I think Dean Weathers did it once. Mehdi Hassan has done it before. They take people on the right and on the left, and it's like a battle royale kind of thing. Well, the other day, they had Jillian Michaels on. You'll remember Jillian Michaels. Of course, she was one of the trainers on The Biggest Loser, a show about really, really, really big people and their weight loss journey and how you can better yourself. And they were discussing the concept of the body positivity movement. Now, sometimes Jubilee can actually get really good people up there. I think there was a great debate between Charlie Kirk and Dean Weathers. I don't like Dean, but sometimes you'll get informed debates on it. And then sometimes you'll get people up there who beclown themselves, who make a complete ass out of themselves. So Jillian Michaels, famed physical trainer, went up there to debate with people on whether or not it is unhealthy to be fat. Now, I'm allowed to talk about this. Wiser. That's really funny. On whether or not it is good for you to be overweight. Now, there's nothing wrong with you if you are overweight. I know, because I fall into this category and I work every day to do a little bit better job, a little bit better every single day. But I'm also aware that being overweight is unhealthy because I live in the real world. Unfortunately, Jillian Michaels sat down with people who are dumb, and it's going to get them unbelievably sick. Check this out.
All right, my first surrounded claim is that obesity is not healthy and pretending it is.
And when I say this is a problem with social media content, what I mean by that is that you have someone who knows exactly what they're talking about, debating on the same playing field, the same level, as people who don't have the slightest idea what the hell is going on.
All right, my first surrounded claim is that obesity is not healthy and pretending it is puts lives at risk.
If you want to be the first debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi. I'm Edie.
Nice to meet you,
I'm an
Edie.
eating disorder therapist. I'm going to do my best to not use the O word because I find it pretty offensive. So I'm going to use fat-bodied as we talk.
You're not allowed to say the word obese anymore. I didn't know that, by the way.
Okay. Do you understand why people find it harmful and triggering?
Overweight and obese is literally just having too much body fat. It has nothing to do with the quality of the person.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Are we going to debate the claim?
Yeah,
Or
I just
are
wanted
we
to.
gonna-
Yeah, I wanted to clarify though the
Are
language.
we going to pretend like I'm a 3 and you're my mommy?
telling me how to talk.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
So the claim that you're saying is that it is inherently unhealthy to live in a fat body.
It's inherently unhealthy to have excess body fat, yes.
Okay. Where are you getting that information from?
Oh, okay. There are dozens of MRT trials.
Where are you getting the claim that it is unhealthy to be overweight? I don't know. I live in the real world.
That show having excess body fat, dozens, is causal, not correlated.
Oh, no, that's not true. There is no disease that just fat-bodied people get.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But obesity lends itself to all-cause mortality across the board. Have you heard of something called adiposopathy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know it means literally sick fat. And you understand how it works? Okay, tell me how it works.
So it's an additional layer of fat in the stomach area.
No, that's not what it is. It works as follows. When we eat too much food that has energy that we're not utilizing, the body needs to put that energy somewhere, right? So it puts it in fat cells. So it puts it in initially subcutaneous fat cells, a little bit of visceral fat, which is fat around the organs. And at first you have hyperplasia, which means we're recruiting new little fat cells, which isn't necessarily a bad thing up to a point. Now the issue is that once you can no longer recruit more fat cells, right, you get hypertrophy. So the fat cells start to expand. And this is exceptionally dangerous because what ends up happening is the blood vessels get outpaced. So the fat cells can't get oxygen and they start screaming, literally. And when they do, they release.
See, that face right there at the end is what's wrong with social media. You had somebody who was so excited to debate Jillian Michaels, world-renowned fitness trainer, about the health effects of being overweight, that she didn't know basic definitions. But arrogant Democrat, I'm going to assume, let's be honest here, they know better. Look, there are things I don't know about. So you know what I do? I don't talk about them. Maybe open a book before debating an expert. Or the internet will make fun of you. Shit happens. If you want to watch some of the worst social media content on planet Earth, please put on Jubilee. It's like being punched in the face with stupidity over and over again. Guys, it's 4 p.m. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Go to loudmajorityusa.com. I'll catch you guys back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.